Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Thigh Company channel here, and welcome to the next episode of our Ask Reddit series. Guys, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and comment down below your future requests and future ideas for future videos. Alright, so here goes our episode with what is your own personal encounter with the paranormal? Such as ghosts, aliens, sleep paralysis, glitch in the matrix, etc. All right. First person from One Monty says, when I was little, maybe 5, I would walk into my parents' bedroom to crawl into bed with them. Many times when walking into their room, I would see a young girl in a white dress standing at the foot of their bed. I would be paralyzed with fear, but being young, I don't know or I don't think I would have understood what I was seeing. I would take agonizing steps forward until I could crawl into bed and then cover myself completely in their blankets. She never moved, spoke, or acknowledged my presence. She was just there. Ooh, that's creepy. I used to sneak into my parents' bed at night when I was much too old for it, but that's because my mattress was haunted and would move and shake at night. Also, I would see the figure of a man and his dog walk in the hallway outside my door a lot. Hey, you had a shaky mattress too? I lived with my grandmother, and because of her room arrangements, I would often sleep in her queen bed. She went to sleep much later than me. I didn't fall asleep easily, and sometimes I would lay on my side staring at the wall. Then occasionally the mattress felt like it was as if lifted so slightly, then rocked violently back and forth, like the head and foot of the mattress were teeter-tottering back and forth. There was no noise, but it was very apparent in my vision. Then the mattress would return to its normal state. It would happen 3 to 5 times in a night. I've never had any vertigo or any other issues that explained this violent rocking. It only happened in her room. That part of the house had some weird stuff going on as well. Needless to say, it petrified me to the point where I went limp. It's like I was overloaded with fear and I couldn't feel anything. Hold up, I need to know about this haunted mattress. Alright. Okay, so I'll try to keep it short, but here it goes. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, my parents got a pair of twin size mattresses secondhand from a family that didn't want to take them with them when they moved away. I got one and my younger brother got one as well. When we were excited to have them since they were known as big kids beds compared to our previous beds. That first night, I remember waking up because something shook my bed, like I heard it squeak and shake. I awoke and screamed for my mom. She told me it was a dream and then for me to go back to sleep. This happened again the next couple of nights. Then my mom and dad got fed up with it and told me to stop waking them up. My mom prayed over my bed for it to stop moving. That night, I slept fine, and my mattress didn't move again for several more nights. Then one night I awoke to what felt like something moving inside my mattress under me, like a finger running up and down my spine. I remember telling my mom it felt like a rat or a cockroach crawling up and down my back. She must have thought I was crazy because she would ignore my complaints that it kept waking me up. It was around this time I began seeing the figures in the hall, and instead of waking them, I snuck into their bed. This was a pattern that continued until I was too big to sneak into their bed. I then dealt with insomnia and sleep paralysis for several years after. After about 7 years, my parents finally bought me a new mattress, and I remember the first night sleeping on it, it was like heaven. It didn't move or anything. I told my mom that I was so happy because the mattress didn't move, and she was shocked because she thought that I had just grown out of it. Classic sign of horrible parenting. I get that it's only one side of the story, but wow, even if you're not one who believes in many things, if the kids are repeatedly telling you that this mattress is messing up his life. It's time to pay attention. NC Wolfpack says, I don't have any juicy details, but my cousin would complain about seeing and hearing things at night and having terrible dreams. My aunt then slept in her bed and experienced the same. They got rid of the mattress after and didn't experience anything again. I forgot where the mattress came from, though. I could ask. I talked to my cousin. She said she would feel like she was awake all night trying to get out of the bed, but she couldn't. She would wake up exhausted. Her dad, not her mom, thought she was nuts, so he slept in the bed and felt the same thing. Wow, that's so creepy. Yes, please ask. I wonder how entities get attached to such things, usually a doll or a mirror, but a mattress is at first. Okay, I swear that I'm not lying here. I texted my cousin. The mattress came from my grandmother's attic. I didn't know this before. They bought it from an estate sale. Not quite, but my dad, he has a story. He grew up in a small village in Greece. One day, on his walk home, it was storming quite heavily. He was standing under a tree in an attempt to wait it out. As he was waiting, he's approached by a slow old woman who he had never seen before. She had an umbrella in one hand and a walking stick in the other. She asks him, What are you doing? He says, I'm waiting out the storm so I can go home. I don't want to catch a cold. She tells him, You have a long life ahead of you. I wouldn't risk catching a cold if I were you. And with that, she starts to slowly walk down the street and out of sight. My dad waits for a few more minutes and takes her advice. He starts walking home. A few more minutes pass, and he hears an explosion. He turns around and sees the tree he was waiting under was hit by lightning and blew up. Mortified, he runs to his home, hopping and hoping to bump into the old woman to thank her, but he never saw her again after that encounter. He's convinced that she was a paranormal being, since he never caught up to her that night, even though she was so slow. He had never seen her in the village before or after that moment, and no one knew who he was referring to when asking around for her. Free Doja says, My grandpa had a similar experience. He enlisted in World War II at the very end of the war when he was 17, and during his training, he was at a firing range. He was standing off to the side waiting for his turn, or maybe he was finishing up. Not important. A lieutenant he had never saw before came up to him and told him very sternly, You're not supposed to stand there. Move. A little confused, he moved to a different area, and just a minute or two after he did, a bullet ricocheted right where he would have been standing. He never saw that lieutenant again. He figured he might have been saved by a legitimate guardian angel. That's so wild. Thank goodness for that, though. Guardian angel, perhaps, or just a kind of fortune telling old lady. Either way, very interesting. I heard similar stories from my grandparents and uncles. The most extreme was that a friend of mine was slept while driving at night, and a very big sound on the roof of his car saved him from a car accident. Also Greek as well. We lived in the same house with my grandparents. I was almost 3 years old when I walked into the kitchen where grandma and grandpa and my parents were just talking, and I said, Did you see grandpa? He has just flown away. A few minutes later, the phone rings, and you can guess the rest. I don't really remember, but grandma says that anytime she thinks about it, it's a relief, because it reminds her that there is something on the other side. I'm not into spiritualism or anything, but I'm glad if it helps her, and I think the story is kind of creepy. My wife of 22 years died earlier this year. She was every bit the happy homemaker. Every day after I went to work, she would make our bed like a soldier in basic training. It had just been perfect, including the massive pile of throw pillows we had to unload every night and stack on a small couch in our room. During the last few months, when she became bedbound, I of course had to take over all the cleaning duties. which did not include a daily making of the bed, so the pillows remained stacked on the couch for months without moving. The night she died, I was awoken by the sound of a fan in our room being knocked over. I turned on the light, and the pile of throw pillows, which had not moved in months, fell onto the floor and knocked over the fan that was about 2 feet away from the couch. I piled them back on the couch and got back into bed. I checked the time to see how long I was asleep. It was 2:12 in the morning. My wife's birthday, my wife's is February 12th. I had several, but the first I remember was when I was 4 or 5 years old and I lived in a house 3 houses up from a graveyard. I was asleep and woke up to the noise and it saw a cat walk through my dresser. We didn't have any pets. Years later, my grandma told me she saw that same cat a few times when she came to visit. Another night, I was sleeping and my arm was hanging off the side of the bed and something was breathing on my fingers. Needless to say, I'm terrified of any body part being out from under the covers when I sleep. My mom told me a story of seeing a soldier sitting on our porch when she pulled into the driveway. Scary part was when we were home with my dad at the time and were sleeping. She said she got out of the car and he was gone, but she knew she had saw him. My grandmother lived in a house that had a ghost dog in the downstairs hallway. Heard the story a bunch. Mostly she noticed after dark would run down the hall and disappear through the wall. My old apartment building, I would always see a cat. Kind of a black shiny cat. And I do have a cat, but the cat I was seeing was not mine. I know that it wasn't a real cat because it was in my apartment and I hadn't actually seen it, just glimpses of it. Well, one night my actual cat was already on my bed. Well, I felt another cat jump on the bed. My cat frisked up and started hissing. She hardly hisses at anything, and definitely wasn't dreaming. Well, it's possible for two people to see the same hallucination at the same time. My girlfriend and I both saw it and both felt it on the bed. Ever since we moved out of that apartment, we haven't been bothered by it as of late. The house I grew up had a friendly spirit. It was a woman in a white gown. Sounds scary, but when you saw it, it would make you feel at ease. I believe both my parents, my nana, and I saw it all at different times. Another time, my family was touring a fort on the coast of Ireland. I looked over to a big dark opening in the brick wall and I watched a figure walk into darkness. This was a section of the fort that was off limits. Not a minute later, our tour guide tells us the story of a man that was killed in an explosion in the area. I believe this was where they had stored the gunpowder and that he had been seen on several occasions walking through the courtyard. Of course, having not spoken upright anyway, no one believes me. Alright guys, well make sure to subscribe, like this video, and we'll see you all next time on the next episode of the Ask Reddit series. Stay tuned guys and take care.